City Commission of Huron. And at this time, I have a call to order and roll call, please.
Smith.
Here.
Cook.
Here.
Bragg.
Here.
Robish.
Present.
Mayor Harrington.
Here. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we're going to adjourn this meeting and open as a Board of Adjustment. The City Commission convenes as the Board of Adjustment for the following public hearings. 2.1, variance request from Timothy McLeod, project address 780 Ellett Drive. Requesting to construct a shed garage 13 feet from the east property line, where code requires a 20-foot setback from the lot line, and the garage is designed to be entered directly from the side street and in the area zone R1. 2.2 variance request is Eloise and Louis Roymos, project 370 2nd Street Southwest, is requesting to allow a fence to remain as built.
So Gary, we're just on 2.1.
Just do the 2.1.
One at a time. Sorry.
Okay, you called it. Okay. All right, we'll do it one at a time. Mr. McLeod is here. Would you like to explain your request?
Yes, please. My name is
Name and address, please.
My name is Timothy McLeod, 780 Elliott Drive. I am the requester of this variance. The purpose, what started this all, is I have a worn-out garden shed in my backyard that's too small and run down and just needs to be taken out anyhow. And I figured while I'm taking out rebuilding it, I'd like to build a larger shed, put a garage door on it, be able to store things like a trailer or four-wheeler or anything if I want to. And then as Barry and I were going through the planning process of where we could put it or we couldn't, we came to kind of an impasse of he would like it to be flush or even with the side of my house so that no buildings are sticking out in front of the others. And I saw that, but seeing as this where I want the garage is not the front face of the property, and it's not a front of the neighbor's yard, and if all 3 or 4 of my neighbors, where I want to put this garage would not be the front of any of their houses. It would be the sides or the back of every property. So there's it wouldn't really misalign things. And the biggest problem I have is when I have kids, I would like to have a backyard that they could run around and play in. I don't want my entire property to be structured. So I just wanted to gain a couple feet, 5, 8 feet, where I could go a little bit closer to the property line. I'm still, my math, I'm 25 feet from the road, 24 feet from the road. So I have plenty of distance, there's plenty of room. You can park cars in between where the garage and the road would go. But for that process to go through, had to get a variance, and I'm fine with that. And talking with the planner, even if this has to be within so close to the property line where I need fire rated material, that's okay. And I'm not gonna be too close to my neighbor's property. I'll just be too close to the right of way, the property line of the road. And I'm trying to think of anything else. That's about what I got. If there are any questions, I'd gladly take them.
We'll have the city planner explain his side of what was
just so you can follow, that there's a graphic on the board that's an aerial photo of what we believe to be the case at Tim's house. The red line on the right represents, now this is not to scale, but it's very close, that represents very close to the eastern edge of the right of way. That road is 66 feet wide, or that right of way is 66 feet wide, which is what the green line represents. Okay, the white box there is where Tim is proposing to build his garage if the variance is granted. Where, as Tim said, we came to kind of an impasse there was the yellow box is where I felt as the planner he should be in line with, and then he wouldn't have needed the variance, he could just go on. But he feels that is eating up too much of his rear yard, as he says, and so that's the reason for his application. Now, on the technical side of this, where we started running into issues is I think that road is slightly tucked over to the east. It's not centered in that right of way. So what that does is that creates a larger yard for Tim, and so one of the things that if this is approved, I'm recommending that we require those east property lines be found prior to a permit be issued, because I'm afraid that that right-of-way might be farther into his lawn than what appears to be the case. So I'm afraid he's closer to that right-of-way than where we want him. So he has to, as a condition of the hearing examiner's discussion with him, he has offered to back that up about 3 feet and stay 3 feet off of the property line rather than build right on the property line. And that would make him about 5 feet of setback, basically, is what he would be requesting a variance for.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Just. Okay. Any questions?
Either for the homeowner or Barry. So we're talking about the setback and the right of way, but in terms of the existing garage that's already there, with either proposal, if you're saying you would accept the 3-foot setback once the property line is found?
Yes, sir.
So how far will that be from the current garage? How much closer are we out? I mean, it looks on that like we're not talking about too much further
It's
than the
about,
existing structure.
it's about, I believe it's about an 8-foot gap there total. But without knowing where those property pins are exactly, it's hard to really tell, you know. So it's, by the 3 feet was kind of a compromise with the hearing examiner and Tim to say, I'll stay back even further a little bit, because what we're concerned about is him building right into that right of way. And so we wanted to have him back from that.
Any other questions? Mark?
Thank you,
Commissioner
Mr. Mayor.
Bush?
Tim, are you gonna put a driveway off of Long Ridge?
Correct. Yes, the driveway would be kind of parallel with that green line. It would go east.
Would that be in conjunction with the driveway that's there now? Just continuation of that driveway or not?
Most likely, yeah. I would make it all one continuous.
Okay. And I don't have big heartburn on that, except for the fact that don't we have stipulations on driveways? Because when we move snow and you have you go from a 30-foot wide driveway to a 60-foot wide driveway, we have that snow, I don't know why we have a restriction, but you can only have a driveway so wide, right?
I'm not aware of that, I guess. I
I,
have never heard of that.
I'm pretty sure there is someplace somewhere, but I'm not sure what that width is, for sure.
I have
And like I
not
said, I
seen the
don't have
maximum
big-
width of driveway in my zoning regulations.
I don't have big heartburn on it, I'm just asking that because I don't think you can have your whole lot as a driveway. You have to have a curb someplace.
And if what you're meaning is for when like the snow plow is plowing snow to the side of the road, I guess every driveway I've had in the 4 years I've owned houses in this town, that I've always had to shovel the end of my driveway out myself.
And I don't think the snow is the big deal, but I think it's more of a safety when cars are coming and you gotta, if your whole side yard, on this case would be your side yard, if it was all driveway curb, there would be no break as far as cars going up and hitting that curb. I think that's what the thing is.
Oh, I'm not aware of that,
I'm
but,
pretty sure it is, but I don't put that
Okay.
on that.
And
And again, I don't care. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
if it is approved, we can certainly make that a condition of that we, if that is something that's a code out there that I'm not aware of, we'd have to, obviously
Yeah.
change the plans a little bit for the concrete work.
if that's how the rule is and that's how it's got to be, that's fine. I would like the option to choose is why, because this variance won't be built, the shed won't be built this summer. I just want the option to do it. But if it comes to that, that's fine with me.
I don't have heartburn with it, I just want you to know that before
We'll
we
check
get
it.
that far.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions? Commissioner Smith?
Thank you. Maybe I missed it, Tim, but how big is that shed that you're planning to construct?
A lot of it depends on the variance and what I can get, but I'm ballparking about 22 by 22, maybe 24 by 24. I got to work with a lot of how close to the property line versus how much room you'll give me versus how much concrete I have to cut in my patio. There's a lot of them, but that's the general sizing. It's no pole barn or anything.
Yeah, but it's not a garden shed either.
Yeah, it would be.
It's a full-size garage, basically.
Yeah, ideally it'd be big enough where if I needed to put a vehicle in there, I could. But more than that, I need somewhere to store, lawnmowers, snow blowers, tools, a trailer, a four-wheeler motorcycle, stuff that I don't want just laying out and about.
And so the whole desire for you is to try to get that to the east so you can maintain a little bit more yard off your patio. Is that kind of the gist of it?
Yeah, and in the existing shed I have now, it was poorly built, it's poorly standing, it's been rebuilt into a dog kennel, and rebuilt into a tiki bar for their pool that they used to have back there. And it's weathered and needs to be either rebuilt or torn down, one of the two, in my opinion. So I figured if I'm gonna do it, I'd rather do it the right way and do it clean.
But that's why you want it a little bit more one of the reasons you want it
Yeah.
a little bit more to the east is so that you can maintain some of your backyard.
Yep, correct.
Any other, questions, Commissioner?
Barry, I just want to focus on why you are recommending denial, right? You are recommending
Yes, I
denial
did.
of this variance.
Right.
And I believe you said it was because it would stick out, wouldn't be lined up with
Right.
the house.
We felt that it should be flushed up against the line of the house. And shouldn't extend farther out into into that front line of the side yard there, as you're looking at it.
So, he can still have this garage, it just,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it,
Right.
but it's just not exactly where you want it to be, but you can still do this.
Yes, it'd be physically possible. I mean, they said need versus want. Nobody's dying if I don't get this variance approved. It's just, I'm trying to use what space I can for what I need, and I want to get my life and my property organized. It's not there's no fire of any sort. This is just what I think would be best, and I don't see any downside. I get where he says keep them flush, and I agree if there was 6 houses in a row, you wouldn't want a shed or garage sticking out. But it's not the front of my house, it's not the front of the neighbors, there's our 2 east neighbors, it's not the front of theirs either. It's a backyard, it's a side yard to everybody. So, in my view, there's no victim, there's no harm, and this is the most efficient way to do it. But I see, and I agree with as a planner, I see why he sees it that different angle.
Well, I guess, I think he makes a point there. Is our philosophy that we just want garages to be lined up with the houses that they are connected to? Or is it our desire to have all the structures in the neighborhood line up and not obstruct? You see what I'm
Right,
saying?
yes,
Barry?
I do.
I'm kind of wondering, because certainly the latter is more significant than the former.
Mhm.
But
Well, if I may, I think the other significance is the 13 feet setback versus the 20. That's the ask.
That's really that's the code variance.
Right.
Certainly.
Well, that's why I asked, though,
Right.
why were you
Right.
recommending
So,
denial of the variance?
because-
You said it was
yeah.
because it wasn't.
Well,
lined
and
up.
that happens to be about what that space is. So yes, you're correct.
Can I ask a new guy question?
Sure.
The right of way, like, what is the main focus of having a right of way and keeping properties out of the right of way? Obviously, there's quite a bit of side yard there, but what is can you just?
So
explain?
the right-of-way itself is where all of the utilities and the infrastructure lies, okay? So we don't allow anybody to, at any time, build any structures, by variance or not, in the right-of-way. Then there are setbacks for planned neighborhoods, there are setbacks for front, side, and rear yards. And in Tim's case, he's requesting a variance to that side yard setback. When there is street access into the garage, you have to have it back 20 feet because they're looking for that car space, if you will, or truck space, but outside of the right of way. Only that truck space needs to be in his property line. And it's very similar to what we went through with the Southtown discussions about, the 22 and a half feet and the 25 foot, so that they're parking their rigs on their land, not actually blocking the right of way.
And because, you said it's different because this particular property, because the driveway accesses
The street.
that street, it has a deeper
Yep.
right of way.
Yep.
So if he,
Normally, for example, there's a house being built down on 26th Street where their rear, side, and front yard setbacks are all 30 feet because of the setbacks, because of the zone they're in and all of those things. And then his other side yard is only 7 feet.
So in other words, and then you just said it, but he could, if he got his variance, he could park a car out there and it wouldn't get in the way of anything.
It shouldn't, I mean, because he's close, but what I'm cautioning the commission on is that property line. We're not exactly sure where that's at as part of the issue, because that road may not be centered in that right of way. Normally, you would have a road in the middle and each side would have an equal boulevard. And that is not the case, I don't believe, here. Because when I went out and physically measured the 66-foot right-of-way extends past even where his fence is at. It goes into his property line.
Have you ever had a survey on that property? On your property?
I have not surveyed it, no, and I did not have it surveyed, but it was like this way as I bought it. Like, for instance, the shed that exists is only 2 or 3 feet from the property line is where it was built, and code says it needs to be 5. So the new shed I would build, the garage that I would build, would be 5 or 5 and a little to give it the room, but whoever put the structure up must have had a workaround for a lot of that kind of stuff. Must have knew something I didn't know.
so Barry, one more follow-up if I can. So then you recommended that we deny this, but then you did make the comments about if we pin out and do 3 feet back from the right of way, you would approve that then?
I would be willing to compromise with that, yes, because I think that then you're only talking about a 5-foot, difference there. And again, in Tim's case, he doesn't face that garage is not going to be in anybody's front view. Nobody's yard faces it. It's all to the rear or side views of any given house. So that's one of the things that why I really don't have too much issue with it. It would be different if it was front.
And then I don't need to be on the right of way. I'm not trying to push for the maximum I can get. I just whatever, if I have to be 3 feet back from the right of way, 5, 2, whatever it's got to be, I just want to be as efficient as I can with my structure. I I'm not trying to take everything. I just want to see what I can get, what you can get, what works for you guys and works for me.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I would move to approve the variance with the compromise requested by the city planner that we get the property surveyed, find the line, and go 3 feet back from that line. If that compromise is good for both sides, I would move that we approve it under that condition.
Do we have a second on that? Second on Commissioner Robish? I think if we have any more discussion, I don't know if we can, yes.
Well, I
Commissioner
hate to
Toth.
interject it, because I was just about ready to suggest we table it until we got some more information. I thought Commissioner Robish made a good point about the driveway extending all the way across. It didn't seem quite right to me either, and I'd hate to have us approve something and then find out we're in violation of our ordinances. It just seems a little odd to me, but I'm not, you know, I'm not against it with that, as long as the parties are for it. I want to support Barry, and I want to have the property owner get the maximum benefit he can out of his property too.
And if that's the case, if the variance goes through and we find out there is the driveway code, and that's just how it is, it won't get, you know, it won't get done. But if that's, I'm willing to accept that if we find that, but, you know, today I'd rather know for sure one way or another.
Yeah, I would, and I think, Barry, you did say that earlier, I guess, on that if we approved it, you'd want to check into that, so I would make that a part of my motion, that we also consider that piece as a part of the whole process. Doug said, so we'd approve it tonight, but then if that turns out to be an issue, then he understands that. Is that all right with you?
It'd be great to.
Is that good with you?
Yeah.
Commissioner Robish, okay. All right, with that, we'll have the vote, and all 3 of our variances tonight have to be approved by 2/3. So with that, roll call, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Luke.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
So you done with me?
We're done with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming. See you.
All right, next
Is that
up,
Louise out there?
Oh.
Say, Mark, I remember something, I think it's something about DOT has a requirement for the frontage. So we had that issue at the fire station with our little bulk curb yard, and somehow it's
this is 2.2, welcome. This is 2.2, it's a variance request by Lisa and Louise Romas. Project 370 2nd Street Southwest, requesting to allow a fence to remain built where code states that on the corner lot, 6-foot fence may also be constructed within the rear yard adjacent to the side street, which such does not constitute a front yard of a buffing lot in the area zone R4. So with that, name and address for us, please.
The house is actually under my parents' name. It's under Luis and Margarita.
Okay.
My name is Eloisa.
Okay.
The address is 370 2nd Street Southwest. That's our side. My parents' side, it's the 368.
Okay.
Basically, we just wanted a yard, a patio or a fence on our side. My parents have one on their side. We don't. I guess I wasn't aware of the variance for the 6 feet. As far as being a safety concern, because I think that's what they explained to me before. The fence, it's not taking up the whole corner lot. It's only 26 by 20. It's not big. It's not taking up the whole house either. It's just in the middle. It starts in the middle of the house and it ends at the end. So it's not, at least for me, and I consulted with some of my neighbors. It's not obstructing any vision on that corner. If anything, it's making people stop. There's no stop sign or yield sign on there, and there has been accidents even way before we built the fence on that corner lot. I guess we just wanted a patio for our house. We're new with, I don't know. We just wanted to have a patio for ourselves, for our kids in the near future. With everything that's going on with the COVID-19, we just want to be, I guess, just do our stuff at home rather than going outside. So that's why we thought of that when we built it. And I apologize for building it without permit. There was a misunderstanding on my end, so, but yeah, that's all we want.
So basically, when I went out and looked at it today, basically that you have no backyard.
No whatsoever.
Yeah.
My parents on their side, they do,
Yeah.
but on our side, we don't.
You don't, and you live on a corner, and so you built this 6-foot high fence on your front yard.
Yes, well, it's not our front, it's on the side, it's not in front of our house, but yeah, it's considered the front.
It's on the front of the street. Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
well, yep. Yep, it's to the side of the house, but like I said, it's not taking up the whole house, it's not surrounding the house or anything.
Yeah,
It's just the middle of the house, I don't know how to explain it, but
yeah. And the problem you got into was that on the front, or on the street side, it has to be 4 feet high, and this one is 6 feet high.
yeah, basically, we just wanted, like everybody else, wanted a patio with a privacy.
Privacy.
Just 4 feet, it's not private at all. We have stuff there, and we have problems with, some of our neighbors' kids. They would go into the property and would touch everything, and we didn't want them to get hurt, so that's basically why we built the fence and all of that. Well, that was also.
I'm going to ask the city planner to give us some of the background on this, if you would, please.
Sure. And as Eloisa said, she had a little miscommunication there, and she said she didn't have, she didn't understand she needed to get a permit for that fence. And then certainly if we would have had a chance, we could have coached her up and said, no, it can only be 4 feet. And so she ended up in a situation where she was out of compliance. We did, the hearing examiner is recommending that she pay a $50 fee for a non-compliance fee, and she's agreed to do that. She didn't hesitate at all about that, but it is true she does not have any rear yard, but the ordinance is clear on the street side. You know, when she's on a corner, she essentially has 2 front yards. And that is where you run into those 4-foot versus 6-foot fence issues. Unfortunately for her, you know, given the property constraints themselves, there is no other yard space, and so that's where it came in. But given for safety concerns, that 6-foot fence, you know, that's why that ordinance is worded like it is.
Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Crew?
Do we have a safety concern?
There is, because of that fence sitting, their house actually faces to the north. Okay, and so they did bring the 6 foot on their front, they did bring the fence back to the face of their house. So there is no safety concern on Second, and it's at the side street there. Nebraska, yeah. But there is a safety concern though on the alley, or there's a driveway, because they don't have any backyard right there. On Nebraska, there is a driveway that comes out right adjacent to that fence. And so there is a safety concern there. And unfortunately, you know, if you put those, we have a requirement for a safety zone essentially for fencing. When you put a 6-foot fence adjacent to an alley, you're supposed to have a little 12 by, I believe it's 12 by 12 triangle in there where you have a diagonal cut on the fence line. And so that is where that comes in, and that would take up 35% of her backyard if it were to do that. And so given that situation, I just felt that it was improper to have the fence there at 6 feet, and we recommend either it be cut down to 4 feet or be removed.
Mr. Roach?
Thank you. Hello, Lisa, is that right? Okay. Don't take this as a scolding, because it's not a scolding, okay? It's not a scolding, but a couple of things that you said in your statement was, it's not a hindrance in seeing like children coming out for cars or whatever. There is no stop sign there, but cars are stopping. And I think that's probably why they're stopping, maybe because they can't see around that. It's okay, it's all right, but I'm just thinking that's why they're either A, slowing way down, or B, stopping, okay? Either way. So, did you put up the fence yourself, or did you have it hired done?
But both, we helped them, we had someone hired to do it.
Sure, okay. And if it was someone that has put up fence before or whatever, they would have known that you needed a permit, not necessarily you, I'm not saying that, okay? But not necessarily you, so, but they should have known and they would have known. So, as far as the $50, I guess I'd have to stay with that, and I know you agreed to that, that's fine. And as far as the cutting it back to 4 feet, I don't want you to take the whole fence down. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to have to do that. What I would really like you to do though is, if you have some help, at least make that triangle that Barry's talking about, right on where that comes off that driveway, because it does come right down that driveway, right down to the sidewalk and right down to the, and so that's why we require that triangle for your own kids' safety. If they're coming out of off that driveway and they can't see them, that's a bad thing. Or if they're coming down there and you're backing out of that driveway, that's for your own safety, actually. So I don't know about cutting it down to 4 feet. I'm not gonna go against the planner. I don't want you to take the fence down. I don't want you to have to take the fence down, but I really, really, really would like to see that triangle there, if nothing else. And I know it's gonna take a little way away, a little bit of the yard, but maybe it doesn't have to be 12 by 12, I don't know. But at least some for your own good, really. And so don't take it as a scolding, but that's the only reason we have variances, that's the only reason we have rules, not so that we get your building permit, not so we get your $50, not, and mostly, we don't even care, but it has to be, if some of your neighbors or something would get hit, not only would you be liable, we could be liable for that. That's why we have the ordinances. And that's, I guess, I better put it.
Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Smith.
Barry, can you help me out a little bit? I didn't get a chance to drive by the property. So on that picture, the black line is indicating where the fence is, correct?
In your packet, yes.
And that's 6 feet from the house to the sidewalk to the front, or towards the front of the house.
It's 6 foot
It's all
fence
6 feet.
all the way around,
Okay.
along that black line in your packet.
Okay. And for that safety corner, if you would, what's the maximum height to that point? I mean, could a fence be 6 feet up to that? I know in alleys and so on, but I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, even if we said, well, you gotta have 4 feet, wouldn't they still be required to have a safety
Yes,
view there?
yes. They're supposed to have a safety triangle in there.
And that, like you said, in alleys and
Mhm.
other obstructed
Right.
areas.
Because
should be
it's
12
for the
feet.
safety of the pedestrians.
And so 12 feet both ways, would basically go up to the house.
Well, you'd have to take, in that picture, you'd
Right.
have to take that bottom corner, you know, and make that a diagonal fence line right there. So it would basically, you'd have to go, because of the location of that one tree right there next to that driveway,
Yeah.
you'd have to go either on the front side or the back side of that. And
Right.
so, that's, you know, you could, if the variance were granted for the 6 foot, you could make that triangle happen as a compromise, and then still allow them to have some privacy back there.
So the triangle would solve the safety problem?
That would solve the safety problem, because it's really not a safety problem so much on the north side of the house right there, on the face of the house. It really has to do with that driveway.
And I'm probably more along that line, you know, that with it being 6 feet, I see other side yards,
Mhm.
you know, they just happen to be on a lot where it's a little conflicting
Mhm.
as to what the front of the house is.
Great.
But I think if anything, there needs to be some gap there, you know, just for safety purposes.
Yeah.
And whether there's enough room if they angle that in front of that tree, between the driveway and the tree, or between the tree and the house, I guess I don't know that based on this picture.
Right, and we'd have to go over and measure that up, and, you know, if the variance were to be approved with that condition, then we'd have to go over there and make sure we measure it up and give her a good line that she could work from, and then they just have to essentially invert that corner post, you know, move that corner
Right.
post in, and then,
Right. And so I guess I would be in favor of making a motion, Mayor, of allowing the 6-foot fence to stay with the condition that they work with the planner to get adequate visibility on that corner angled off, so that there's a safe view there for backing up and not clipping a youngster coming by there, or a pedestrian for that matter. At your discretion of whether that should be on the side of the tree that goes to the house,
right.
or the side of the tree that goes to the driveway. So my motion would be to allow the 6-foot fence to stay with the condition that they make a safety provision on the corner at the planner's discretion.
And the late assessment fee?
And the late assessment fee, yes.
We have a motion, do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Roberts for a second. Any more discussion we need? More thoughts? Not? We'll have a roll call, takes a 2/3 on this one also.
Smith.
Aye.
Hood.
Aye.
Bright.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Ellen, Lisa, when you get a chance later this week, just give me a call. Okay, thank you.
Well, you bet. That's a hot chair. 2.3, variance request, Steve and Kristen Goen, project 527 Wyoming Southwest. A request to subdivide a 179 by 75-foot lot into 80 by 75-foot lots and 119 by 75-foot lot, where code requires a minimum lot area of 12,000 square feet and a minimum lot of 100 feet, and construct a building 2 foot from the west property line where code requires a 12 rear yard setback in an area zone 1-2. Mr. Goen, welcome.
Thank you.
Steve, give us your name, your address, Steve.
Steve Goen, 280 South Circle Drive, in Huron. The property is at 527 Wyoming Southwest.
Tell us what you want to do with this project.
The initial project, I already built one building, and it's 20 foot from the north lot line, and my plan is to leave 20 foot on the south, and then separate an 80-foot lot so I can build another building and basically just be the mirror of that. And then the last 19 feet I want to sell to David and Linda McGurr, so they have some property to the north of their garage.
Planner,
Sure.
you would please
Okay.
tell us the planner's session?
Yes. We've looked at this pretty extensively.
They've done a great job.
Yes. Let's start, I guess I'll start first with the location and the setback variance. He's asking for a variance from code to construct a building 2 feet away from his west property line. Now, that is very close. However, that rail line is not active. So, and this body has already granted a variance for the exact same building that exists to the north of, right there where Steve's talking on that north lot. So, given those circumstances, I recommended approval, and the hearing examiner agrees that we should grant the variance to that code. Now, we come to the crux of the matter for the variance, and that is the platting of a lot less than 12,000 square feet and less than 100-foot frontage. I do not agree that that should be approved. I recommend a denial of that simply because I do not believe it to be necessary. The applicant can convey property by footages today. Steve could sell David and Linda McGurr the south 19 feet of that tract because it is legally describable today. So even if he were to move ahead with the platting, he could have platted it differently, and rather than go with 2 80-footers, he could have gone with one large 100-foot lot and been able to convey a foot to the north to the other building, or the south 19 feet of that particular property. So there were a couple of different ways, and so I felt that the applicant could have done that. I know he has his reasonings, I'm sure he'll share in just a moment, but I just don't feel that this meets the threshold of a unique and dire circumstance that the land could not be used. So therefore, if he does not meet that threshold, then I don't believe that you should provide an exemption from the given law.
Steve, you're up.
So we started this project back when Ralph was here, went through the whole project with Ralph, what my intentions were, and there's been a policy change just because there's been a change in leadership in the planning department, and his opinion was at that time that they would not grant a variance to build that building if it wasn't a separate plat. Now, Barry had told me that I could do that. He emailed it to me, did a really good job explaining it. And I just thought, let's just go through the process and make it so it's clear and easy to understand, instead of the south 80 of the 160 and so on. And so I went ahead with that anyway, had Pearson Harris plat it out. Obviously, it's not final until this group approves it or denies it. I talked to the county on Friday, and they've had a change in their philosophy too. Ralph and Pat agreed that they wanted a separate plat before they would approve it. Now they're willing to do, the south 80 like Barry talked about. It's really semantics. We'll get to the same spot either way, but I just thought if I was going to sell that property someday, it'd just be cleaner and easier to say this is lot 1 and lot 2 of tract D. So that was my intent, and I've spent the extra money to, in my mind, I'm saying that's right or wrong, to do it right, just so it's clear and easy to understand. And Barry's been a huge help, I appreciate it.
Any questions from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Robish?
Okay, Mr. Gorn, so basically, if you wanted to sell 19 feet to the McGurrs today, you can do that tomorrow, okay?
Yes.
You can sell that to them tomorrow, the south 19 feet of lot 126, okay? And so what would be, and maybe I missed it, but what would be the advantage of replanting?
Just have a clear legal description.
Okay. So then Mr. McGurr would have to just add that south 19 feet to his lot.
Correct.
Basically.
Yep.
I don't know. What's the
Barry,
hang up
could
on
I,
one of them? I guess I'm not
say
sure.
something?
I'm not doubting either one of you, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's,
David wants to interject something online too.
can you hear me?
Understanding?
Go ahead, David.
Okay, I just wanted to say, yeah, this all just came about because of the change of policy at the Director of Equalization and the Planning Commission. And we have no problem with that, other than we had gotten advice from Ralph when we started on this, down this path about 1.5 years ago. And so last winter, not understanding that policy change had happened, we hired Pearson Harris, paid him almost $1,000 to draw up the new plat, do the drawings of where the new building would sit, and and move forward with all that. So we've got $1,000 invested in this, which was unnecessary, but we're kind of caught in a change of policy, and so we would rather not have spent the $1,000, but now that we did, we would just as soon finish it so that we had lot 1, lot 2, lot 3. Otherwise, our $1,000 is totally wasted, and for something that we had no real way of knowing at the time we hired Pearson Harris. The first time that Steve talked to Barry said that's not necessary. Well, we had already gone down that path and hired them, and we've already spent the money, and the pins are there. At least I guess we can find, even if it isn't south 19 feet, we can find that now. But it just seems like we're kind of caught in a situation here where we spent $1,000 we didn't need to. But as long as we did, I don't really see any harm in going ahead and letting us finish that process and name those lots off. As far as the width of the lot not being 100 feet wide, until Mr. Onbaugh bought that lot about 5 years ago, those lots were all 50 and 43 and a bunch of odd sizes. So that would be typical for that neighborhood. And then Mr. Onbaugh planned to build a 165-foot long building there. So he got it platted into one big lot because Ralph told him he had to or he couldn't build on it. So he replatted it into one big lot. And then he ended up building the building at an alternate location. And so we come to acquire the property, and so now we're basically just trying to undo what was done because they had to do it to build the 165-foot long building, and then we were told we had to do it to build this 80-foot building, and my building is currently 2 foot from the rear lot line and 3 foot from the side lot line. I would like to have room to at least park a car beside it or something. That's why I want the 19 feet, but anyhow, we were acting in good faith when we hired them to do that, draw up that plat. And so I just asked you to allow us to finish it because it wasn't any bad faith effort on our part. It just was a change in policy that was done by the planner and the Director of Equalization during the interim period. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Yes.
Well, no one's accusing anybody of bad faith. It's kind of like the previous applicant put up a fence without getting a permit, nobody thought they were doing that on purpose.
No,
Clearly is against the rules, and I don't know, I don't know why you guys got a plat, spent all that money before you got a variance. I mean, here you are asking us for a variance based on the fact that you spent $1,000 to get a plat. I kind of put the cart before the horse there. And then I don't understand this allegation that there's been a policy change. I mean, the facts haven't changed. I don't know what policy we're talking about. I guess we do have a different planner. I don't know what Ralph said. He's not here to defend himself, but I don't know of any policy that's changed. If you're able to accomplish everything you want to do
Right.
without the variance, why would we give you a variance? I think that's my big question. I mean, a variance, I think, is a very significant thing. I mean, we have a city ordinance, and we're basically being asked to say, let's change the ordinance for these people. Well, if there's no reason to do it other than you like a better sounding legal description, is that what I'm hearing? I mean, is that really all it is? I mean, I've seen plenty of complicated legal descriptions. Remember the South Lawn ones? Those things were like that long, right? Well, things still got sold.
yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. That's what I'm having.
Well, I don't think
a problem
that,
with, Steve.
And I understand that, it's
Steve or,
semantics, it's,
Steve or myself
we'll get to
are,
the same part,
are,
we'll get there either way, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah, we're fine either way. It just,
But at that time, it was.
no, there was a policy change. Ralph required a new plot and Barry doesn't. And it wasn't in ordinance, but that's just what Ralph and the Director of Equalization were going to require, because one time there was an issue with the twin home where the lot line didn't go through the middle of the home by about a foot. So they decided they were always going to require plat, and that's no longer the case. And we're fine with that. And if it doesn't get approved, it doesn't get approved. But we were told, draw up something to bring to the commission, and that he would support both variances. So the likelihood of getting turned down seemed very narrow. And so we had him draw it up, and we're doing what we thought we were supposed to do. If it doesn't get approved, it's not the end of the world. We can still move forward with the other variants. And like Barry pointed out, the building to the north and to the south of the one that we're looking to build here, both are 2 foot from the property line. So that would line up directly in between those two. So that really isn't anything different there. So that part of the variance, I think Barry's indicated he's fine with, and Ralph was fine with. And we're not trying to cause a problem. We just are trying to change the lots back to like they were, 5 years ago. So you can, since we spent the money, but it's not. We can certainly get it conveyed without it if people have a problem with it. I'm not certain why it causes a problem, but we're just trying to do what we were supposed to do and make it the cleanest and best we can, and we'll move forward in whatever manner the commission sees fit.
So I understand your standpoint of how you would prefer, now that you've made this investment, you would like the cleaner line. So that's your side. I'm still a little bit unclear. I mean, I understand a variance is an important thing, but what disadvantage is there to the city to go ahead now that they've made this investment? How would it be any harm to us other than we'd be making this variance exception, but how does that actually harm the city at all if we go ahead and let them do it the way? Would it change
Beyond that,
taxation or anything?
no, it would not. If you were to approve the variance, in my opinion, it would not harm the city at all. But where I come down on is, as I had said before, is I'd love to drive down Dakota Avenue at 50 miles an hour, but I don't have a get out of jail free card that I can just say, I don't have to comply with that.
But that's a significant safety issue,
Yeah,
that there's a reason why we have a speed limit. I'm questioning what would be the harm to let these guys do it the way that they want?
There would not be any harm in my opinion. There wouldn't be harm that would be caused by it. hopefully they would go ahead and build their building and move as they are intending to. But where I get caught up is the letter of the law says this is how it should be done.
So my point to that, because I agree with, Doug's saying, a variance is, that is something that's important, and we have to respect that, but that is part of the provision of the law.
It is the standard.
That we can offer, that's why variances exist, and if, when we're all said and done, it sounds to me, and again, I won't claim to understand it near as well as you guys do, but it sounds to me like after it's all said and done, the proposal of the 3 lots platted the way they were 100 years from now sounds like it would be a better situation for the city. So in this case, it sounds like what these guys are asking for would actually leave us in a better position after we're done. And if all we have to do to get there, it doesn't cost us anything, we just have to approve the variance, and then going forward, those properties are described. If we were asking them to spend $1,000 now, that wouldn't make a lot of sense, but if the work's already been done, I guess that would be a window into where I'm thinking is we do the variance, we allow this to move forward, because when it's all said and done, after we're all off the commission, this sounds like a better description of the parcels than if we don't give them the variance. That would just be my thing.
So if there's no harm involved, is there a precedent involved?
Yes, I believe so. Anytime you provide a variance to a code, there you are opening yourself up to that precedence. There's no question. Now, do you do it? Absolutely. And you know it going in that this could cause a precedent in another unknown future issue. Now, and I get it. Like I said, Steve and I have hashed this over on a number of occasions, and so we certainly understand that.
And we both know we'll get to the same spot.
Yes. And so we have no, hardships there at all. But where I come down at is the code is the standard, and if you're asking for an exception to the standard, then you should have a unique and dire circumstance that the property cannot be used unless you do it. That, in fact, it says that right in our variance application.
And that was my intent, is basically what Rich said is, let's just do it right. Let's spend the extra money and do it right. That was my intent.
And I don't necessarily agree with that premise, by the way, but because down the road 30 years, if somebody replats it and then replats it and then replats it, that is not necessarily an easier description. Because you have to note each one of those legal descriptions versus this just selling off, if it's tract D and selling off the south 19 feet, that's all it is. So I'd like to be on record there that I don't necessarily agree with your premise there, Rich, that would be better down the road.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's a good point.
Barry, could I ask one question?
We had a brief conversation about this this afternoon over the telephone. I thought you said that the county taxing authorities were questioning this too.
Well, and one of the things that when Steve and I first started going down this road with his variance application is he made the case that he didn't think it would be, that they would be able to get a clean title opinion because they wouldn't be able to get title insurance and get a final commitment out of it. Well, subsequent to that, and then prior to the variance, I actually remembered that comment, and I actually discussed that specifically with Nancy Wagner, who runs Huron Title, and Kim Eichstead, who was the Director of Equalization for the county, as well as Barbara Riley, who was the Register of Deeds. And none of them could figure out why that message would have been conveyed to them. I'm not saying it didn't, because I wasn't there, but I can't figure out why somebody would have said that, because you can clearly convey property using, it happens every day.
Well, that wasn't quite the question. Maybe I misunderstood our conversation this afternoon, but I'm talking about the taxing aspect.
Okay.
No one at the Director of Equalization gave you some indication
No.
that this would cause them to have to revalue things and that kind of thing?
No.
And screw around with the valuations?
No.
I thought that's what you told me, but.
If I did, and I'm sorry if I misspoke or
I
anything.
know, well.
I don't know that, I don't recall that, so.
All right.
So if it just goes to the south 80, I could still build a building with that smaller lot size, you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
because I believe, you're still within your setbacks. If you were to build it just as you built it now, it's a previous building.
Okay.
And it's, all you would be doing is you'd be conveying the properties. If you were to, for example, sell off that north building in an
Mhm.
80-foot section, you would just describe it because it is already a platted lot.
Mhm.
I think where people misunderstand that is when you get into leaps and bounds descriptions that says, starting in the northwest corner of the property, running 170 feet,
Yeah.
then's running south 190 feet, then's running back east,
These are
that's where you
difficult.
run into title problems.
Okay.
I got one more thing to say.
Commissioner Robish.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess comparing the two variances, the last one and this one, she wasn't aware, and I believe she wasn't aware that she should have a permit. And these fellows went ahead and did the legwork ahead. I can relate somewhat, as my wife and I bought a half a lot from our neighbor when we moved to town. For 27 years, it was married to our house, to our lot. But for 27 years, we always paid the neighbor our taxes that were due because the neighbor always got charged for that half a lot. And it was changed legally, but the sum was never charged to us, it was charged to the neighbor. So anyway, this cleans it up, it gets us to where we're at. There's really nothing for any of us to do except for it's done, I guess. And I understand, Barry, this is how it's written, this is how we should do it, okay? And that's where we're getting to. And they just did it, I guess, here a while back, I guess, I don't know. So I guess part of me says I appreciate it. So I don't know how to vote on this, but I'm going to make a motion to accept this, not going against the planner's wishes, but to get us to where everybody wants to be, where we're all at. So I'm gonna make a motion to accept this variance or go through with this variance.
Need a second for the motion?
I will second that.
A second, okay. And I think we've had adequate discussion.
And if I could, just a little.
I guess we have.
Sorry. I would like to follow up with that question about the precedent. Because there is a real concern that, my understanding was kind of like Commissioner Robish, that we do this and it's over and done and everybody's fine. But do you, Barry, or does anybody, is there a concern that by doing this, we're creating a headache down the road for some other situation?
Anytime you provide a variance, I think there's an opportunity for that to happen. And you will never get around that. But then again, we can't live our lives inside the box all the time. So I do understand that. I fully understand and am aware of what Steve and those guys are doing, and I understand that. Where I had trouble with it is from the beginning was it's needless in my mind, and to me, there's no reason to grant a variance when they can provide what they need to do under the existing code.
I would say, but my thinking in supporting Mr. Robish's motion is that, and there may not have been an official policy change, but it does sound like somebody from the city gave these guys different advice that they then followed and made an investment. And so even though we have different advice now, I do think we have some responsibility to these gentlemen that came and asked for advice from a city employee, followed that advice, and now they're in the position that they're in. So that's why I would be voting for it.
I still can't believe anybody would go to the expense of getting a survey and a new plat made before you cleared this hurdle.
Mhm.
I mean, anyway, that's just my point.
Any other discussion? We'll take a 2/3 vote. Call the roll, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Clute,
No.
Bragg,
Aye.
Robish,
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
No. Passed. It's passed.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for your time.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
2/3 of
2/3?
Thank you.
You need four, you did not pass, right?
Where's 2 names?
Yeah, that two doesn't pass.
I did that.
There was 2 no votes, correct?
Yeah, you need 4 out of 5.
You need 4 out of 5.
Didn't pass. That, did not pass the 2/3 vote.
We better really make sure,
Tell
we
Steve.
better make sure he knows that.
Yeah. We will.
No, David's on the line, he knows.
Okay. We now will reconvene to.
No, we have a,
I guess, could I be clear? Was the part approved that allows the 2-foot setback? I don't think there was a vote on that part of it.
yeah.
Two separate votes.
I can't hear what he's saying.
There was the issue of the 2-foot setback, and then there was also the issue of replatting.
Let's make I'll make a motion to allow the 2-foot setback
Okay.
I would
per
second
the
that.
planner's
Second, have a
recommendation.
motion to allow the 2-foot setback, and we have a second for that. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Aye.
Clute, Bragg,
Aye.
Robish, Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Okay. That passed.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David.
Bye.
We, ready to begin our reconvene into the city commission meeting. And with that, we go with public forum first. We do have public forum tonight. Janet is working the phone, so if you have any questions or comments on our meeting as it goes forth from now, just call in and leave your name and leave your message. Public comments may be sent during live meeting broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. The link is listed as city website at www.hurstateecommittee/city government. In order to use the YouTube chat feature, please create an account with your YouTube and Gmail or using your existing accounts. Please state your name and address for the record. So, Janice, you give me a heads up when you get a call in on it. And other than that, I don't believe any other public forum tonight. So we'll move on with approval of agenda. We have a correction in the agenda. Pauline, do you would like to speak to the correction of the agenda before we approve it?
What is that address?
It's the lot control transfer.
Oh, in the public hearing notice. Under the consent agenda,
Okay.
just at the transfer. The address is not southwest,
Southeast.
southeast.
Southeast instead of southwest, that's the correction in our agenda. With that, do we have a motion to approve the agenda
Motion to approve the agenda with the correction.
with the corrections? Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Let's have a roll call, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Clute,
Aye.
Bragg,
Aye.
Robish,
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Consent agenda. Matters prepared on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission at one time without discussion unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. First up for the consent agenda, 5.1, minutes of July 13th, 2020 meeting. 5.2, fuel quotes for city departments. 5.3, set August 10th as a public hearing date to consider resolution number 2020-09, petitions to vacate street rights of way as filed by Ole Romazone Jr. and the Romazone Family Ltd. Partnership and True North Steel, all doing businesses, True North Steel and Huron Veterinary Clinic. Forgive me for if I mispronounced your name. 5.4, set August 3rd as a public hearing date to consider transferring 2021 retail on-off sale malt liquors, beverage, and South Dakota farm wine license for La Patrona, Marta Elisa Arenze from 101 3rd Street Southwest to 208 Dakota Avenue South. 5.5, personnel items, promotion of Khalid Kaufman to Street Maintenance 2, Street Maintenance 3, and promotion of Kerry Dennis from Street Maintenance 2 to Street Maintenance 3. Number 3, open and advertise 2 street maintenance 2 positions. 5.6 is payment of the bills. I have a motion to approve the consent.
Move to approve the consent.
Mr. Smith, motion. Second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Bragg. Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Vote.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Harry Harrington.
Aye. Next up, we have a semi-annual update for the South Dakota State Fair.
Didn't see it.
Is she up front?
Haven't seen her. Nope, she's not out there.
Moved it up there.
She's not on there.
Put her on next week.
Okay, we don't have anybody here tonight to give us annual update of the South Dakota State Fair. We will get a hold of the fair and see if they could come next week to speak to us, because we are anticipating hearing how that's going to go. So with that, we'll go to 7.2, public hearing to consider home occupation permit filed by Dennis Streley, project address 305 Lincoln Southwest, to operate small engine sales and service business in an area zone R2, one family residential district. Okay. Your name,
Dennis Striley,
your address,
305 Lincoln Avenue, here on South Dakota.
okay. And you want to have a small engine repair service in business in the area zone R2. What do you got going on there, Dennis? You let us know.
Just trying to bring another business into town, I guess. When me and the girlfriend and her kids moved up here because of family stuff with her mom and stuff, so we moved up here. I'm not originally from here. Trying to open a business, bring, I don't know, wanted some small engine repair done up here, and everybody's high. I just thought it was crazy how expensive stuff is. I went to school for some of this and did some in high school and did some in Mitchell Tech, and why not bring services to the community that can be affordable?
Yes, we did look at this. The hearing examiner recommended approval of this with the condition that they try to keep all of any outside sales or storage of the lawnmowers in particular is what we were talking about, would be kept to the south half of the property as much as possible, so that we don't get a lot of visibility issues, because he's right on the corner of Third and Lincoln, right there on the, would be the southwest corner of that. So there was some concern about that. He's agreed to do that. We also had the condition that he would be allowed a maximum of 4 mowers out on the front area of his property, outside of his fence. Otherwise, everything else has to stay inside his fence.
Now, you say it won't be on the corner, it'll be back behind, or,
It'll be kind of tucked to the south half of, as best he can, to the south half of his property.
but there,
He's agreed to try and keep that, just to make sure we keep that visibility and clear.
any questions? Yes.
I move approval of the application with the condition concerning the 4 mower limitation.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from Commissioner Rovers?
Thank you, Mayor. Dennis, I've heard some good stuff about your work. It's very good work and whatever, so I appreciate what you said about coming in and getting stuff done and doing stuff for other people. I appreciate that. One thing I was gonna ask Barry, and I forgot before, was there any opposition?
No, in fact, there was, his neighbor called and supported him and spoke highly of him and said he's a neighbor of high character and he takes care of his property and is very respectful, and she feels very confident that if she were to approach him with an issue, that he would move to get it resolved as quickly as possible.
Is this particularly the one right next?
Great.
Okay, because I saw a couple times that there were, some of your stuff was right up against there, and I'm not saying there was a problem, I just wanted to make sure that that was okay.
And she was on, during the hearing examiner, hearing.
Oh.
So she spoke in favor of it, for the record.
And I've talked to several people that have had you do work for them, and they said that's all good, it's all good. So as long as you keep the corner clean, neat and clean, you know what, go for it.
And I would just say, obviously it is zoned R2 and we have to respect that, but it is right across from the fair, and then directly across the street is the gas station, and it's all commercial from there. So at least he's not just picking an area in the middle of a neighborhood. This is contiguous to a bunch of other commercial spaces too.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. It passed. Dennis, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
waiting.
waiting. Dennis came at 5 tonight and sat out there. So he's waited. He's done his time here. You're free to
All right,
go.
thanks, Dan. Give us a call tomorrow. I think Julie's got a issue with.
Here.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Just give us a shout.
All right, thanks for your guys'
You bet.
You bet. Take care. All right. 7.3, public hearing to consider the following biannual home occupation permits renewals. Number 1, Gregory Peck, 364 6th Street Northeast, gun repair, store refrigeration parts, and HVAC. Number 2, Richard Decker, 77 Colorado Avenue Southwest, pest control business. Number 3, Dan Lichtenberg, 217 Wisconsin Avenue Northwest, lawn care business. Number 4, Jennifer Winter, 705 721 3rd Street Southeast Dog Kennel. 5, Ryan Vokert, 1642 Wisconsin Avenue, handyman service. 6, Oscar Garza, 1080 Iowa Avenue Southeast, construction business. 7, James Klein Saucer, 819 Kansas Avenue Northeast, motorcycle repair business. 8, Gene Halsey, 39996 205 Street, sell and service power sports, outdoor equipment, and ag products. Number 9, Russ Forrester, 803 Iowa Avenue Southeast, vehicle detailing business. Number 10, Yasmin Farerdo, 309 4th Street Southwest, sell clothing. Number 11, Awant Shock, 457 12th Street Southwest, dog grooming. Number 12, Sue Gallagher, 757 Michigan Avenue Southwest, dog obedience training. And forgive me if I mispronounce anybody's name.
Kevin's
Yeah.
making fun of Mary over there.
Yes,
I'm almost sure you mispronounced it.
Probably.
We're gonna go to ordinance and
I
resolutions.
need a motion to approve this.
Motion to approve the renewal of home occupation,
Oh,
home occupants.
okay, home occupants, Dennis, and, okay, I need a motion for approval of those 7.2 and 7.3.
We did two.
I have a motion, I need a second.
Need a second?
Second.
With that, there's no discussion? Roll call vote?
Smith,
Aye.
Clute,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Robish,
Aye.
Mary Harrington.
Aye. Passed. And they all passed. 7.3, we don't do one on that.
That's what
That
it
was seven.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good then. Ordinance and resolutions, 8.1, resolution number 2020-10, school resource officer service for the Huron School District. Attorney Dr. Belesker.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Based on discussions from last Monday's meeting, I made 3 additions, really. First one, under section 5 there, provision number 5, it just states the time when we're to be paid, so we know when to expect payment under the contract. That's by September 1st of each school year. It is in effect. The second big addition, as Mr. Klug pointed out, last Monday's meeting was whether or not the district holds classes in person doesn't change their obligation to reimburse the city under provision 5 of the contract. I think that was the big one, but finally the third one I added was an addition that the agreement shall become binding and effective on the parties once the same has been approved by both the governing board of the school district and the city commission.
Need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. Commissioner Smith, motion to approve, second by Commissioner Robish. Any discussion?
I just have one question.
Sure, Commissioner Smith.
Tucker, was any of that talked about with the school then, as far as these changes, any foreseen complications with them?
No foreseen.
They haven't seen the contract yet. They told us they want to have it, so once it's done, we'll send it to them.
Okay. I wouldn't anticipate anything.
I think, Chief, you suggested last week that they would pay us regardless of whether they're having school.
Correct.
So perhaps that was the understanding, but I think it is better to have it very
Correct.
specifically set out.
Good point. Thank you.
Okay. No further discussion? We have a roll call, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Clute,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Robish,
Aye.
Mary Harrington.
Aye. Thanks, Tucker. Number 9, department items. Consider transferring one complete set of Hearst Jaws of Life to the Cavora Volunteer Fire Department. And we have Fire Chief Ron Hines here tonight to explain this more to us.
Thank you, Commissioners, and Mayor Harrington. In your packet, there was I drafted up a letter. 2018, we received funding through Homeland Security to purchase rescue tools so that they would be upgraded and more in mutual aid with Woolsey. We got the same tools that Woolsey did. So in 2018, our tools that we had in service then became a reserve set. We put them in a reserve to see if we would need them at any time. Haven't needed them as of right now. found a need with the Cavour Volunteer Fire Department. Their tools are pretty outdated, and I was talking to their chief, and we were just, snowballing or kicking a few ideas around. So we're looking to transfer those tools over to them with an agreement, mutual aid, from only 77 miles away from us, that they'd be available for our use at any time that we would need them. In 2008, the city, the Rural Fire Association, Huron Ambulance, and the county did a joint funding for a cutter and a spreader, which I listed in the letter. Spoke to the rural board, spoke to the ambulance board, spoke to some county commissioners. They are in favor of the transfer of the commissioner's approval.
Any questions for Ron?
I did get a valuation from a former salesman, and he said he gathered them around, I think he estimated about $2,500 in value of ours.
You don't have any restrictions because of how they were funded to transfer that,
No.
as long as it's going to
It's
another
going to another department.
government agency.
Can't sell them, but we can, gift them. Our grant was 100% funding.
Move to approve the transfer.
Second?
Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Robish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Thanks, Ron, that's a good program.
And then I'll work with Janet and get them taken off our inventory.
So that concludes our session tonight. Till next week.